And I'm going to share some of the tips that I wish I had known about when I first started wood turning. These are just my personal experience. They're items that are on my list that have now been ticked off after 6 or 7 years of wood turning. So I'm going to start off at the number one is that the lathe. I've got a Laguna Revo 2436 and I've been very, very happy with it. I don't expect for any new wood turners to go out and lash the sorts of dollars this thing costs for you to start wood turning in the very start. So if you're starting, highly recommend you go for a mini lathe. I started off with an Excelsior made in China. It was a 10-inch swing. In other words, it's 5 inches from the centre of the headstock to the base of the lathe, making a 10-inch swing altogether, and that sufficed quite readily for maybe 2 or 3 years, and I got into the wood turning very, very small bowls. Like some of us, I suppose, we went out and got the cheapest tool that we could buy on Amazon. I highly recommend spending a few more bucks and get something that's quality, because they're not going to last and you're going to end up with a very dissatisfied result. I started off, and there's nothing wrong with it, carbide tool. Here's one right here. It's an easy tool carbide cutter. You could start off with one of those because it's very easy to handle, and then they're gradually off to the more traditional turning tools such as the ones you see here. I still use a carbide cut roughing gouge, and they're not that expensive, and if you can afford the dollars, I would certainly say from the very, very start. When you do finally get whatever lathe you decide to purchase, set up the workspace so that you've got room to move all the way around the lathe and making the tools accessible in easy reach. I've made myself a little holder here on the end of mine. You don't have to go to that trouble. Just make sure that you've got a place where you've got the tools and you can just lean over and take them when you need them. I've also got a compressor handy, or an air compressor. If you've got one or you intend to purchase one, it's a brilliant idea because you need to get rid of most of the turnings and dust, etc., off and away from the job that you're working with. And looking back, I wish I had invested both time and money into a proper sharpening station like I have now. This is something that is vital to have, and also take on board the skill to be able to use it properly. I use a pro sharpening jig. There's plenty of different sharpening gigs around. You can certainly source them out and do the research. Don't have to get the particular one that I have. I use the Hurricane CBD wheels. They're expensive, but well invested. I damaged quite a few pieces of tools and went through a whole lot of a heartache, and it was a troublesome time to get the skill set. There's nothing worse than having a dull tool on the job. As far as chucks go, I lashed out on a small chuck because I had a very mini lathe, so I wasn't turning very large pieces. I still have it here today. Probably in hindsight, I wish I had looked at the ones I use at the moment where the truck jaws are easily interchangeable. Spent a lot of time taking the different size of chuck jaws off the truck, on this one particularly. Otherwise, you buy 2 or 3 of these types of trucks when you get down the road to have the different sizes all ready to go with the jaws. A lot of expense for some ease. I think, getting away with face plates and sacrificial trucks, certainly invest some money some point in time in a vacuum truck, but getting back to those cheaper types of things to hold the piece on the lathe, you don't necessarily need to go out and buy a very, very expensive truck. Just get something that's easily interchangeable on the size of jaws, my tip. If you already have a chainsaw, that is great stuff, because it's going to come in real handy to get your timber from the woods free. Now, I didn't have a bandsaw when I first started out. It took some while before I lashed out the dollars on something as expensive as a bandsaw. But I'm glad that I did, and I wish I had earlier, simply because the chainsaw, the wood that's free from the woods and turned around on a bandsaw to make them round for the lathe, has been a godsend in terms of time and effort. So there's an item put on your list. Now, most of the timber that you see here on my shop floor has been collected by myself, or it's been given to myself from people. I do obviously buy some wood myself, but I'm pretty particular in wanting to get the type of wood I need for a particular project that I've got in mind. So all these pieces you see here have all been properly cut, and then with the chainsaw, and then from the chainsaw over to the bandsaw to make very ready for either drying or straight onto the lathe for a particular piece. So as soon as you can get that sort of operation going, you're not going to be running short of pieces of wood to turn on the lathe. I have what I call my under drying area of my workbench. Most of the stuff that I put in here is kept for a long period of time for drying and ready for when I want to actually turn it. So the sooner you can get into this type of skill to support your addiction, the better. Safety goggles alone just don't cut it. You would need to get one of these, a face mask, and protect you from flying pieces of wood, because as much as you think it won't happen, it will. And if you've got a flying piece of wood in an unprotected face, it's the hospital, and there's going to be a lot of bills to follow from that. So this is probably the foremost product that you should get into protecting yourself with. While we're talking about safety items, dust extraction is a priority. You do not want that building up on your shop or in your lungs. I have a dust extractor that runs when I'm actually turning, so any dust, particularly if you're using air hose for sawdust, etc., it's going to keep it fairly clean and away from your lungs. So there are my tips, things that I wish I have had when I first did out wood turning. It's not so much as you're governed by the dollars, it's more for what is more important or has the prerequisite for anything else that you might have in mind. The things that I've mentioned here in this video, they're the things that I think I felt that should be there. One other little tip before I go, I've been pretty well impressed with this here for keeping your lathe bed and tools. So if you need to take care of maintenance on your lathe, this is the stuff. Anyway guys, thanks for watching the video. See you soon. Cheers.